So yeah, my name is Walter Nied, and you can also just call me Walt. And I'm, yeah, a little bit about me. I was born in Germany, I grew up in Clare, I studied in University of Limerick with Russian staff and a lot of other people from Cale as well. I studied in University of Limeric, got the same course. Currently live in Berlin, and I work with Concept Null for Concept Null. And yeah, I am a freelance artist, technician at the moment, kind of a bit of everything, which you might notice in the next couple of slides that I just do too much, and I'm kind of a bit all over the place half the time. I'm into music production, jamming, studio work, DJing, surround sound, real-time visuals, VJing, projection mapping, installations with friends, throwing events with friends, generative art, DIY electronics, and now lasers as well, which is the most recent line addition. Some past works I've done, I used to work with Cabal, they were like a club night in Limerick, and Mob Ennis, yes, I love that. We also did events in Ennis, which is a bit of a wild one, but yeah, that's kind of how I started getting into like residue processing. That kind of got me into like visuals kind of stuff, and then I always like through Scott Robinson, there he is, was always like, you get into TouchDesigner, you know you're not going to get very far if you keep going with this stuff. And I was just like, I kept on trying. And eventually I got it, but yeah, that was a lot of VJing kind of time. Me and Roisin making a solar powered mushroom in 2018 because they said, hey, let's just do it because we can get to free festivals and make amazing stuff. Yeah. Find friends that can make you do weird stuff, really possible, and that's how you look at happy life. Leaf, we did a little projection mapping piece with Scott in Arthur's Theme Park. There was a projection mapping thing in Germany I did, and that was for Dave Jackal actually. They asked me to do the LED visual for the Sky TV series, which was a bit wild. Anyway, getting into TD, as I just kind of said, it took a good long while. I kept on trying and kept on just being like, I don't get this. I came from a processing background, been like lines of code, was just getting into it, was like, yes, I'm so good at this, I'm fucking getting it. But then just looking at TD, it was just like, no more for loops, no more coding, and everything's in parallel and stuff. So like, kind of like, yeah, I was always looking for that processing look, that like 2D flat everything, and then in 3D it just didn't click. Like I was just like, I just kept on going back to my little comfort zone using processing and resonating. So that was a lot of the VJ stuff. Then kind of started breaking into it, making it generative stuff, and then bringing that into Residue, which I kind of found some workarounds how to do that. I really like spout control, which is a way to open processing sketches in Residue as a generator, like a parametric generator. And I always wanted that for TouchDesigner, but then I kind of found a workaround where you can just open it with spout and then kind of always see stuff back and forth. But yeah, I was also in Blender at the time a lot, and after a while I just noted, I think Blender made me realize that real time it's just so much better, because I just cannot wait for things to render. So I got really sick of it. Getting into lasers, yeah, I don't know, have you ever seen the Lumiere show from Robert Enke? Yeah? My man. So good. So yeah, this was my first like looking into lasers. Like before that, it never dawned on me you could use a laser to actually project on things. For me, the laser was like the cheesy Coachella kind of like laser show, and I was like, it's cool, but like whatever. And then I saw this, and it was just like, oh my god, this is what you can do with lasers. Like just like the colors and just the intricacies on the artifacts and stuff. I remember watching the show and just being like, this is absolutely unbelievable. So really wanted to get into that. That was like the first kind of thing. So yeah, how to get into lasers. Step one, watch the Lumiere show on the internet. You don't need to go to it. It's just as good on the internet, trust me. Then yeah, step two is we met around. I know a guy from Clare because he was into lasers, and I was like, how do I get a laser? And he was just like, told me loads of stuff about safety and how they're dangerous. I was like, yeah, but where do you get one? He's like, I was like, we'll sell you one for like 300 quid. And I was like, amazing, ran. So again, Roisin and Scott came to Roisin and Scott. I was like, hey, do you want to chip in on a laser together? Like, Scott got some money from the Arts Council. I was like, go on, we'll just some money together. So yeah, buy a random laser and then figure out how to use it. That was the moment I was like, bought the laser, thought I could just kind of like press the buttons to the back and send some like, visuals like HDMI, and then I was just like, oh god, this is way more hard than I thought it was going to be. Like, what the hell is this Gilda plug? Like, this looks like a printer cable. So rediscovered TouchDesigner, discovered that TouchDesigner can't control lasers. So then I bought the Ether Dream, which is this little thing which converts, it's a DAC basically, digital audio converter, converts the digital signals to audio to analog basically, and sent it to the laser through this amazing old school printer cable. Fantastic. So that's how I got back into TouchDesigner basically, and really started actually getting into it and understanding how to build things properly, not screw yourself over. Those to the things. Yeah, at the start I actually got really into photographs with lasers. Like they're just weird. Like they only work because of persistence of vision. Like, you know, because they keep drawing it so quickly that you think you're seeing a circle, but if you're filming a stone, it's the mirror is going so quickly that a circle is drawn. But in photography, you can actually picture how the laser moves in steps. Like, and it's just so weird seeing light curve. Like, it just doesn't really make sense. So I was really sad to scrub that accidentally. So I kind of just was filming lasers for a while. This is some stuff I kind of just played around with. So like, the experience of laser, it's in the air, which you can film it and put some effects on it. Oops. Yeah, that was. Don't also disclaimer: you will break your camera doing this, so like it's not a good idea. So don't use a really expensive camera, which I did do, and it's not broken yet. But yeah, I'm also very lucky person. Yeah, I love the grain, the texture, everything about it. It's just not so. Yeah, I'm very into that. So yeah, I had a lot of fun doing that. That was me. That was the part I got with the laser. I just didn't know what else to do with it. I was like, I can photograph it, but like programming it, like, you know, it's not visual. Like I put it to like bring a laser around and get it. Safety is a thing apparently. So yeah, that was the whole thing. Anyway, fast forward like a couple of years. This guy, H.O.M.E, was like a breakdancer from Limerick, got on to me. I had done some visual stuff for him every now and again. He was doing a very big project with Fidget Feet, which is an aerial dance centre in Limerick. And they got a sizable enough arts council grant. Toby's a nuts guy, even more crazy than me, was like, okay, we're gonna get like 10 dancers together. We're gonna get aerial dancers, break dancers, we're gonna get a rapper, we're gonna get a scratch DJ. And we're going to get Walter to do whatever he's going to do. And really put us all together. We had like 2-3 weeks R&D. And this is kind of what came together. And yeah, my cast members, 14 total crew, casting lots of stuff. So yeah, there's the crew. There's a couple more members now. And yeah, so the R&D kind of, everyone said there was no real idea what the hell I'm doing. They were like, Walter's going to do some stuff, but then they were kind of like, oh, Walter does visuals. It'd be great. Walter could just like make visual backgrounds for like the dancers to kind of more give the emotion of the piece and stuff like that. And I was a bit like, yes, but I don't want to be a CG artist to make butterflies for someone's dance piece. Like, it's not that I'm against that, but like, I'm an artist. I'd like to also do what I want to do. So that was the big kind of thing where at the start we kind of had this kind of gripe up there, like all the artists come to me, I want butterflies for mine, I want darkness, I want hanging bodies, and I was like, whoa, I can do 3D, that's going to take me years to make, like, you know, the budget, of course, is always quite small, that's a big budget. So yeah, I just wanted to bring the laser. I said, hey look, they have high ceilings. That was my kind of initial direction. I was like, I'm never going to get a space where I can bring a laser that high. I'd seen on H.O.M.E some people doing it. I was like, that's really good. And the project is called H.O.M.E. So I was like, a box projected words, looks like a house. So that was literally my whole idea. And I was like, it's going to look good enough, you know, it's just got to look good. So that was my big pitch. But then again, they wanted me to do lots of visuals kind of stuff. And I kind of was like, let's go in that direction, but I have a feeling this is not gonna. I'm a bit jealous of it. Anyway, I went with real-time performability because, again, I come from VJ backgrounds. For me, performance is the way that I can do things together quickly and like iterate through things quickly. Like if you're going off making Blender around, you're just like, you know, the iteration is so difficult, and you're working with 14 other artists that are dancers that are running around like little kids screaming and doing backflips, and you're trying to talk to the director about why you're trying to change the Blender thing. You need to be as agile as them, like, you know, so performability was my kind of thing that I was going to do. So we have a choice TouchDesigner. And as I said, the visual kind of stuff, residue Blender at the start, which was a little bit insane. Yeah, so I mentioned at the start that, yeah, there's safety concerns with lasers, which the guy obviously said to me, but I was a bit like, yeah, whatever, it's safety. It's a great thing. But
Yeah, lasers really do damage people's eyes, which I learned obviously the very hard way myself. So that's bad. And I kind of knew that from the start. I was a bit like, okay, people shouldn't look at a laser, but that's okay if it's high up. There's not really a problem. And if I just tell everyone to not look up, that's going to be fine, right? Like, that's, and then, like, at the start, it was a bit like, it doesn't feel good, but it's as good as it gets. Like, right, they're all adults, I can tell them to not look up, and you can just make a very good point. Like, when the laser comes on, everyone clears the stage. The only people who are allowed on stage are the people who are dancing, who are performing. So that was kind of how we did it at the start. And it was kind of up to them to kind of go with that. At the start, I was looking like, oh, it's probably not a good idea, but we're going to go with it because I explained it and they were like, yeah, that's how it's going to be. So I was like, okay, that's the safety concerns for now. We'll come back to that as well, don't worry, it's not the end of the story. Performances are too for sketching. So yeah, as I said, I wanted to find something that sketches, that works quickly, that I could iterate on the fly and jump around. I, at this point, hadn't used so much TouchDesigner, so I was like, kind of went back to my old comfortabilities of like the user residue, the clips from the Blender thing will work in that, and I kind of use the residue as this kind of bring it all together and have all the TouchDesigner actually running in real time, bringing them in through residue, putting effects on it, and as I said, like iterating. If someone says, oh, well, I actually wanted it in Pluto, okay, you just throw something on it, and you just stack the effects. It works, and it does work okay, but yeah, it didn't really have the same kind of depth to it. Like, if you're just putting a picture in residue and just putting effects on it and making a wave, there's always this kind of like shallowness to it. But again, when someone said, hey, I want a butterfly, and you don't have time to go off and spend 20 hours animating a butterfly, you're like, okay, well, here's a PNG, and let's see how that goes. Yes, and obviously there's my director, which is always a fun picture. But stranger money down by no one has money for this kind of stuff, no one has time for this kind of stuff, so you just have to figure out how are we going to get to a point that we can actually conversate about the concept and actually get to the bottom of what are you talking about, what can I do, and where is that middle ground that this piece will actually actually be something that can explain the story, because that's what we're trying to get to here. We're trying to get to a story, not trying to think too technical about stuff, so that again, while I try to keep the tech a little bit more simple to get more of the concept. But yeah, all the laser stuff, which again was my whole thing, it's like, this is going to look good. I built in TouchDesign from very early on, and I knew what the concept was. I knew what I wanted to do. I knew it was going to be rigged, so my limitations were very set at that point, and I knew exactly how to use them. So I got that basically all mapped to a MIDI controller. I don't actually have any pictures of that. So it actually was amazing. Like when I started, we got through all the visual stuff, and then Sasha, bald guy, you saw us there. He just we turned the laser on, we cleared stage. Sasha kind of just walked into this box. The piece started playing that he wanted, and he just did literally the first 2 minutes of the piece right then and there. I just kind of jammed it out. The whole room just went quiet, and then it finished. Everyone was like, that's it. That's whatever that was. That's going in. And it clicked right then and there. I was just, this is my me, guys. Trust and just, think of something simple that you know is going to work. It's flexible enough for someone else to go off and do something with it. Stay, conceptual in some sense. Ironically, our concept no means no concept, but quite a bit. Hit space, laser, stop beaming. Yes, sorry, I'm thinking about it. So the safety functionalities basically that I kind of noticed from TouchDesigner that I found super, super handy. It's not even a really safety functionality that's built in for laser stuff. It's just, if you hit space, chop stop cooking, so the laser stops beaming. And that's quite a handy thing, because if it didn't do that, quite often in theater, you're stopping and starting, you're like, can we do that 10-second bit again? Okay, go back, let's do the 10-second bit again. And once the director calls cut or stop, everyone's in normal mode again. So they're looking up, they're looking around, they're looking at all the places. So you need to have that laser stop right then and there. You're meant to have a kill switch, I'll skip back to that, but this is the soft kill switch that as soon as the actual rehearsal stop, the laser stops as well, which I thought was a accidental but a really handy thing that I actually noticed I was just using a lot. So that's a nice little function for that. Not so proof, but there's ways to work around it. Another handy, oh my god, such a good piece of chop and functionality is the filter chop and lag chop for laser stop, especially when they're using MIDI controllers. 0 to 127 MIDI controller, and if we were like, oh, the box needs to be this big, we also need that fine grain control down here. Like, just putting it into the filter chop and it just sees it out and it's, just everything looks good. Filter chopped on the laser, you're done. It's pretty much as good as it gets. Lag chop as well, but not so much. So look, we did like R&D, that's 4 weeks of it or something like that, super intense time. And this is how it came out of it. You can see all the video clips. They wanted this actually to be black, so that's what the big problem was. They're like, no, it's a dark piece, we're going to be projecting on black. And I was just like, no, I'm not. How much money do you have? Oh, we're getting this 5K projector. I said, yeah, it's this one, it's cheaping out that. I'm going to tell you that right now. It'd be great, right? I was like, you do you, man. So that's why I was like very much like, there's already feasibility problems here. We don't need to go off and design like spend 50 hours animating something that's going to be projected on black. So I was kind of like, look, we're going to do it. So this was all done in real-time TouchDesigner, so I could actually control it. This is like Blender clips, which were pretty dark, and I think that was getting there about it. So that just lost sketches, and then laser in there. So how's time? Okay, I'm talking fast. Am I talking too fast? No? Okay, I'm going too fast, I'm sorry. So yeah, what we learned, projecting on black screen, obviously backdrop visuals don't badly distract from the narrative. This is something kind of clear. I think you said it as well, Isabel, that visuals can distract from things, so that's not to say visuals are bad, but understand when you're going to use them. Just some dancers saying, I want a sunset behind me because I like sunsets. Yeah, but why is the sunset there? Is it like, you're looking at the screen, I'm not looking at your fucking triple backflip that you're doing. You're spinning attention right there, so we need to focus the attention on what's important right now. What's the visual saying? And if there's nothing on the screen, you should be looking at the dancer. You're looking at the dancer, but I'm not looking at the screen. So, that was a lot of things that we kind of had to really drill into each other as well, to be like, why are we doing this? And is this actually, especially when you don't have much money and time, you need to be sure what you're doing. It's going to add to the piece, timings were hard to nail. Yeah, all of the music was played by the scratch DJ. I don't know if anyone's ever worked with DJ, but they pulled the BPM down by plus. Sorry, now I'm not talking about you. All their DJ pretty nice. I'm not. Sorry, I mean eye contact. Sometimes DJs just play things 2 BPMs slower or faster, which is great. That's the whole point of DJing. But when you're trying to time something, and that's constantly going out, it's good to have performance, but then you're trying to stick to those timings, it just goes all over the place. So that was another thing. So yeah, what we learned, less is more, basically. Phase 2, more lasers. Basically, we took a year break after that showing, and they got a little bit more money to say, okay, we're gonna finish this. We did this massive scope out, here's everything that everyone brings to the table. We had all these showings, we had all these offerings from everyone, all these stories. And it's all about basically kind of displacement and home. What does home mean to people? So most of the people are from immigrant backgrounds in the piece, Willsy's from Triangle community, Toby's from Nigeria, there's another guy from Nigeria, the DJ's Polish, I'm German. So it's a very multidisciplinary, multinational piece, and all about how does home Ireland and what does home mean to us really. So all their pieces are amazing, but then you have to make all that into an hour piece that kind of makes sense, that someone can actually get what is this? So again, cutting things from that. So the visual was the first thing, and I said, hey look, let's focus on the laser. If I have time to focus on the laser piece, that will actually become an element that makes sense rather than lots of different elements. That's what they did, and luckily then me and the director kind of started clicking a little bit. So yeah, for the second R&D, I basically knew this, so I could cut all the visuals, focus on the laser, and my approach then was to say, make it predictable, make it rehearsable, make it safe, because that's the big thing really. You can tell people to not look up, and that's fine, because that is actually a safety precaution, as long as they know when they can look up. But if you're jamming on the laser and making a box bigger and smaller, however I feel, they can't predict that. But if the laser is in certain parts, they know that they shouldn't be there, or when they should, when they can look up. So that is an actual safety feature. But I from the start, from this point on, was that's what we need to do. So moving forward, using Ableton, TD Ableton with TD, oh my god, fixed so many things in my life. Sorry, I'm getting up. But yeah, we needed to make it rehearsable. So that was kind of the thing. I needed some sort of timeline. I needed fixed timings. I needed automation. I needed audio playback, so I knew the audio would sync up in time. And the slip function in Ableton is very handy when you're playing with a DJ and you're trying to sync up with a DJ because, you know, if he decides to drag down the BPM a little bit, you need to match that. So very handy, again, Ableton had that. And as I said, TDA Ableton, the sync up with it is so tight. Just grab parameters and stuff like that. Amazing. So yeah, with this narrow scope, tighter software integration, I could lean into the strengths of each program. I didn't have to rely on Resolute, was doing some visual stuff, TouchDesigner was doing some visual stuff, MIDI mapping, OSD, it's all over the place. It's like all the timing has come from Ableton, and all the laser stuff and all the actual programming and how the laser looks is happening in TouchDesigner, and that just worked really well together. And yeah, so I just built lots of different sketches, and then when we have the art start, the R&D, I could sit down with the director, have it in 20 minutes and just say, here's what I have, here's what I think will work, let's go through it. And then she could see exactly what the parts were, the timings, like to know to what point of the music they were going in, and she could then think, okay, that part's going to be for that person, that part of the narrative, and it just was so much quicker. So it was a bit of a learning curve in that way, but really worked out then. Okay, then, oh god, wow. And yeah, this is a bit of a problem. There's an opera singer in it as well, sorry, I forgot that. So, yeah, amazing piece, so happy to be part of it because there's so much craziness, and I was like, multidisciplinary all the way through. I don't know what stuff being out, I'm going to go up there. So yeah, safety, talked about it a little bit along. I have learned a lot as I went along. I have now done my laser safety certification in Germany, which helped me so much to actually think about what does actually mean for laser safety, what can you actually expect. So safety starts in the concept. Basically, that was kind of my little thinking of like, if I have it rigged up high, this is okay. If I had the laser coming from the front, that would not have been okay, because there's no way someone can't not look at the audience. From high, you can expect that. You can expect people to rehearse themselves to not look up, as long as they've been told that. Think about the problem, you just think of the concept and its feasibility, kind of the same thing I was kind of just saying there. You know, think of what is the problem there. Kind of, is there moments when someone has to look up out of safety reasons to grab something? There's that piece where Togi basically looks up, and in the end, I kind of said to the director, like, we should take this out. And she said, I'm the director, it's my call, I'm the one who gets the blame. I was like, okay, that's up to you then. Like, you know, it's still like, you know, some of the eye damage is some of the eye damage, but I have said all I can at this point, which is a bit wild, but that's how it went in the end. And the dancer said, yeah, I'm okay with it. So I was like, okay, you've been instructed, you've been told, this is all I can do. Programming so it is safe. As I said, the rehearsability of it makes it safe. That's what I asked the guy in the safety thing as well. And I was like, is this okay? And if it's rehearsable and if they can drill that, then that is a safety precaution you can take in laser safety. I think it's still a bit wild, but it makes sense. As I said, going back now, the performance and the jamming aspect doesn't really work so well with lasers when you have a person there, because they can't know when are you going to go really small and hit them right in the eyes, and they're not meant to look up. So that actually was something I shouldn't have done in the end, and that's something I learned in the end. Awareness and communication is everything, telling everybody that they should be aware, they should not look up, they should be aware that when the laser is on, only the people who have been rehearsed and are rehearsing and are part of the show should be on stage. So, and protect those that you cannot make aware, little kids, people from the audience, all this kind of stuff. That's what laser safety is really about. Of like the people who can be made aware, it's up to them. But if you weren't made aware, you can't know it. So that's kind of the points we landed on in the end. Forms of kill switches. Yeah, this is my kill switch. I'm not proud of that. Not. Moving on. Okay. Will we dive into the TouchDesigner stuff? No. Will we go for questions? I can show the laser. Yeah, this is TouchDesigner stuff.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, I know. It's not. No, I talk too much. I know. And I said, I think I made the whole thing a little bit long. But let's do a little bit of laser stuff. While that's loading up, also, there is 2 shows coming up. The thing is on tour now. 8th of July in Sligo and 19th of July in Carlow or Donegal, I think that is. So yeah, if anyone wants to go see the show, I'll probably recommend that. It is the show. Right. Bam, bam, bam. So, you can see it, guys. Awesome. So, yeah, this is pretty much how I've done it. I've had the tracks at the top, and then I basically had these MIDI clips of PDA, but then was changed the scene. So, just jump in here. That's all the box. You have to rotate yourself. This is not from the top down, right? Now it's the person's on the box there. So all the little moments that the program are having a timeline just made it so much lighter because he could actually hit the song, hit moments in the show that would actually look like he was doing it, which was a really nice sync up. And then yeah. Jump in here, and then switch to here. Yeah, you get the idea. So let's just chill that for a second. And yeah, the TD patch is super messy, but getting there a little by little, like this is my power slider basically to adjust the power, another soft kill switch, which is good to have. The laser out, basically, I have these laser transfer curves to actually get the color right, because the thing about lasers, they're actually not linear. All the diodes mix differently at different points, different power levels, so to actually get white all the way down and up, it's pretty difficult, so every laser needs to have these transfer curves, which I use lookup, and then the S curve, so RGB lookup curves. I have to keep tweaking them as lasers slowly die out. You need to just keep changing that. So then this was kind of how I then did it. I just made these different scenes, which basically had all the soft stuff in it, however I wanted it, would take in the Ableton CC stuff. Super handy because basically on each of these little boxes, on each of these tracks, I just dropped a MIDI effect track, and then they would show up in the TD Ableton down here, and if you name them here, the parameter goes up here, the name, so it's just super handy, and you can just copy them across and rename the parameters, and then just kind of patch them out here, however you needed them. And that was also really quick to prototype, and they're like, oh, actually, we make the box move, and you can actually program it in. You're like, okay, quick, box move, parameter in Ableton, drag it in, rename it, reuse it if you weren't using it. So really quick to prototype and kind of iterate through things. All the soft end here, and then basically you go from soft to the laser. So I had the laser in here, converts it into chop data, another light fader, and then the out, and then you basically put all those into the switched, and then the switch is the MIDI effects, which you jump between the scenes. Yeah, it's not a crazy patch. It took a long time to build. camera control, you need a camera to look at soft stuff, you need a camera to know the position that you're looking at the soft drum. Very handy because now for calibration, when you're going to different theaters, you can basically say, oh, the laser's actually off axis, you just move the camera completely and the laser can shift a little bit. You also want to be getting in the middle, also zooming in all scales, all the stops, so everything gets bigger, the laser's higher or lower. Yeah, I think I can see Connor coming over here.
that was really fucking cool. Well done, Mark.